Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am PR Sinclair, and today I will be reading for you some creepypasta. Um, I'm I've seen this is basically gonna be my YouTube channel, just me reading creepypasta. I know there's other channels out there that do it, but I thought I'd put my hand in the ring. I am an upcoming author. I've released a book earlier this year. I'm trying to get some good word of mouth going, build a community. And I do have a subreddit and a Discord server to discuss horror, especially queer horror writers. I'm a gay man and I love to write horror. But it's see, that's the thing. It's not my entire personality being gay. It's my personality is me being in love with nerd culture, any kind of nerd culture. I love horror. I love comic books. I just love it all. I love fantasy. So today for my first video on this channel, I will be reading The Black Church creepypasta. So I'm gonna go through it real quick. See how long it is, because I do have other stuff to do. Um, but yeah, this is what I will be reading today. So bear with me 1 second. All right, I am ready. So let's get on with this. The Black Church by Jeremy Eckvold. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Estimated reading time 24 minutes. All right, let's get to this. Have you ever seen yourself die? I have. It was just a normal mid-20s college. I was just a normal mid-20s college graduate when that horrific nightmare occurred. It was not like any experience I had been through before, and now it is my every waking nightmare. My story begins like that of many recent college students living in the city without a real job. I recently graduated from Miskatonic University with a degree in art history. A worthless degree which unfortunately is a realization that came to me in my senior year. I had no real job except working at a rundown old club in the seedier side of town. I wasn't skilled enough to be anything like a bartender, who nowadays are part performer, part showman, and a little part drink servers. Yeah, I work in a bar, so yeah, that is true. um, where was I? No, I worked there just making sure any punk who thought he could miraculously make it in the music business wasn't in a foul mood or killed by gang members who didn't like his lyrics. I was it was one of my nights off when my friends, I call them friends because that was what I thought they were before those events occurred, convinced me to spend a night of luxury in the very place that I worked. I wish to any and all deities that I had not been insane enough to go that night. But I went along with them anyway. Scientists say that by this age, my brain should have matured to support my decision-making progress. I should not have such rash and potential dangerous choices. I should not have made such rash and potential dangerous choices. I made all of them anyway. Perhaps it was because I was depressed about having no real career and that I was wasting my life. Perhaps it was because my brain, due to some forgotten event, was stunted and had not matured enough to make competent choices. Lastly, perhaps I just did whatever I felt like, but whatever the reason, I consumed a dangerous cocktail of drugs that evening. I remember smoking things that my so-called friends had bought with them. I remember needles and a rush of pure bliss. I remember taking pills and quickly followed mind-boggling bright colors and shapes beyond imagination. I know, I drank, I injected, I swallowed and inhaled a lot of substances that night. I would never know what those substances were. I could never reproduce the myriad narcotics in my body that night. And I wouldn't want to, even if I could. Because I believe that unique combination of drugs caused them to notice me. Ooh, this is getting interesting. Some people who use recreational drugs believe they alter the user. Some say hallucinogens allow us to see truths just beyond our normal perceptions. They say hallucinogens temporarily alter our brains to perceive things, lacking a single term for those reality distortions that aren't quite material. They claim our minds in this altered state see hidden truths, but our waking brains see them as hallucinations because we cannot comprehend this defiance of the reality we know as human beings. I'm not a scientist, but this is the only logical explanation I have for how these events began. I don't know how I managed to make it back to my apartment after my night of stupid debauchery, but I woke up there anyway. I woke in that hellhole the next day around noon, my clothes ruined by stains and my phone dead. I thought that was probably a good thing because I had no clue what I had done the night before and didn't want anyone telling me the details. My head was pounding and my heartbeat felt like a sledgehammer wrecking the inside of my body. I muttered some curse word or another as I made my way to the bathroom that morning. I finished my business, so I walked to the sink to wash my hands as usual. There was some motion behind me. At least I thought it was behind me. I whipped around and threw open the shower curtain. Nothing there. Just a figment of my imagination, or so I thought as I turned back to wash my hands. There it was, in the mirror. I turned around to confront it, but it wasn't there. I decided to ignore anything else, because it was obvious to me that this was all in my head. It was most likely caused by the drugs I'd taken the night before. Unfortunately, this was not the case. I bent down and washed my head in the sink to try to dull the throbbing pain with the cold water. I blindly grabbed a hand towel off the ring to dry my head. And when I looked back at the mirror, it was there behind me. I turned back and I saw nothing. I looked again at the mirror, and there it was, still behind me. Back and forth, I whipped my head until I figured out that it was in the mirror. The thing was walking toward me slowly. It wasn't human, and I had no name for what it was. It was tall, standing around 7 feet, maybe? Best I can remember. Had 4 arms, 2 of them, the ones on the chest, much shorter than the others. On each arm with a hand, there were 3 fingers, 2 fingers and a thumb-like appendage that ended in long, deadly-looking claws. No eyes, no ears, and no nose. Just a mouth with teeth so small and sharp to be human. With teeth too small and sharp to be human. It was fading, blinking, and shaking like an image on TV when you lose signal. It was moving even closer, but it was not there behind me. It existed only in the mirror. Then it was looming over me. I swear I could feel its breath on my neck, even though I knew it existed only in my mirror reflection. I watched as it placed a clawed hand on my shoulder, and I found myself in the real world, unable to move. I saw its other long arm appear, my eyes wide in horror. My breath was taken away, and with a quick motion, I watched my throat slit. I tried to look away, but my eyes were too drawn to the horror that nobody should face. I felt my body being pulled forward as if I were going to collapse. Though I fought it, I still slipped down toward the sink. I felt myself unable to breathe, and just as I thought I was gonna die, the nightmare grew worse. I felt myself pulled back up to the standing position and saw the monster pulling me with its long arms. It held me there, suspended as I felt my body being pushed. I watched my body in the reflection bulge. 2 small arms pierced through my body. Then the monstrous creature began to fold itself into my mirrored body. Piece by piece, it impossibly fit inside me, until at last it folded its large insect-like arms inside. My body in the image convulsed. I was compelled to follow its movements until I collapsed to the floor. I felt as if the grip on me had been released. I could breathe freely again and move without resistance, unable to shake the image. My stomach heaved its contents all over the ground, terrified by the horrors that I had just witnessed. When I could stand, I grabbed the edge of the sink to pull myself up. It took much longer than normal because of my trembling legs and weak knees. But when I did, I gathered enough courage to look in the mirror and saw nothing out of the ordinary. My reflection was normal. There was nothing behind me, no slit throat, and nothing forcing my body to move against my will, at least for a moment. Then I felt my hand begin to move. I looked down and watched as it reached toward the mirror. I tried to will it to stop moving, but it was no longer mine. I looked at my reflection in the mirror and it looked back at me, slightly out of sync. It snarled in anger at me, and I felt my mouth move according to its command. I began to fight it with all my strength, fighting every moment it tried to command. I grabbed my wrists, pulling with all my weight as if in a tug-of-war match. Finally, I thought I had an edge on this monster pulling me, but then I felt my foot slip in the vomit. Too late, I realized I was sliding toward the mirror. In desperation, I flung myself headfirst into the mirror, compelling my evil reflection to move with me. I crashed into the mirror, collapsed onto the sink, and I fell unconscious. I awoke around 6 in the evening, groggy and sore from flinging myself into the mirror. I could barely tell approximately what time it was by the amounts of light in the room. The mirror! The horror of it came crashing back into my mind with a speed like that of a bullet train. I refused to stand up and see my reflection. I had felt finally connected to the experiences I suffered with the mostly shattered mirror. Ignoring the grossness of my vomit, the myriad broken glass pieces, and puddles of my own blood, I forced myself to crawl into my dimly lit, shabby living room. I finally got what my mind needed to rest itself. Unfortunately, it chose a panic attack to do so. For those who have never experienced a true panic attack, it was true. For fuck's sake, I can't English. A true panic attack. It was truly terrifying. My breathing became shallow, and I felt like I couldn't get enough air. As this happened, my mind was flooded with thoughts. My thoughts were a mess. With only a few words coming out clearly. The rest, faint whispers. Eventually, I regained control of my mind and sat up. I decided that everything I'd seen was just a nightmare from the drugs. Yeah, I bet you did. Looking down, I saw the mess of my. I really cannot speak today. Of my clothes. I was covered in vomit. My clothes were torn, and when I touched my head, my hand came away sticky with blood. I knew I had to clean myself and then clean the bathroom. Though I was convinced it was all a hallucination, I was still nervous about entering the bathroom. I slowly crept toward the bathroom door, then suddenly rushed into the now ruined room. Once inside, I saw how ruined the bathroom had become. Sorry, it's late here. Become after the night's horrors. Vomit smeared the floor from my fall and unconscious movements. Pieces of broken mirror were scattered everywhere, most stained with my blood. I noticed damage I hadn't seen before. I'd broken the old porcelain sink and also torn down the shower curtain, bending the rod badly. Then I felt my eyes drawn to the mirror shards on the floor. I didn't want to look, but I felt a pull, like a magnet tugging at metal. My feet tried to move toward the barely held back by my will. Finally, I turned my gaze away. I stood in my living room, unable to do what I'd planned. My LED clock blinked 12, signaling a city power outage, a rare event since they switched underground cables. Oddly, my battery-powered wall clock was stopped at 12:01 a.m. too. Oh, you're no longer. You're in the mirror world, I guess. I gave up on cleaning the bathroom and went to my room to change into clean clothes. I chose a long sleeve tee and plain jeans, slathering on deodorant. As I left, I grabbed my dead phone from my nightstand and tossed my ruined clothes into the sink. You sicko, you don't have a hamper? Jesus. I gathered my thoughts, trying to plan my next move. I thought of my ex-girlfriend, Clarice Jefferson. Clarice? That's Clarice. What a weird name. We'd graduated together, but she stayed for a master's in anthropology. We'd split amicably as friends since we connected better as classmates and lovers. She'd always been there for me, and I couldn't imagine anyone better to talk to about this. Oh, for fuck's sake. Yawning. Jesus. I was headed out, keys and wallet in hand, when I remembered the gash on my head. I quickly stuck my head under the kitchen faucet. Barely a kitchenette. The washer washed off the blood. The water washed up. I need to go lay down after I finish this. The water washed off the blood and woke me up a bit. I dried my hair with paper towels until they came back mostly clean. I walked a block and a half to the nearest bus stop. Taking the bus is cheaper than owning a car in the city. At the stop, another regular Harriet, whose last name Tubman. It's Harriet Tubman. It's a coyote. She's trying to get the slaves out to the slave train, to the underground. Fuck, what's it called? You know what it is. Whose last name I never learned was there. I asked when the bus was coming, and she said the 7:20 bus would be here in about 20 minutes. Alright, didn't say something. I walked in that awkward silence only a bus stop can bring. The bus was a few. Oh my god, that is true. The bus was a few minutes late, but it felt like forever. I got on, swiped my pass, and took a seat near the back, away from the driver. My mind was still reeling from the trauma. Oh my god, from the trauma, making me suspicious of every move the other passengers made. Is this just a schizophrenic guy here? What's he doing? I knew the route by heart. 2 stops, then I'd get off at the third and walk a couple of blocks to Clarice's apartment near campus. As I started out the window, letting my mind drift, I felt strange. The time was slowing, my body felt stuck like in a dream. I felt lighter, as if gravity had let go. The world outside changed. Buildings looked ghostly, twisting into impossible shapes. The landscape turned alien, shifting and fluid, barely real. And I heard voices calling to me. I call them thoughts, but that's not quite right. Oh, shut up. That's not... Fuck, where was I? Hold up. That's not quite right for what I heard. They were like sounds, but more echoing in my head. If I had to explain, I'd say I felt their meaning in my body. The voices were sharp, high-pitched. Unlike anything human, the parts I felt, I understood. It wasn't one voice, but many, calling as one in a terrible language. One voice, deeper and louder. It stood out. They spoke of things I couldn't fully understand. Vast universes, a time when we were all one. Called the First. When they spoke of the First, their God, I assumed that deep voice said I alone, apart from the others. They went on, a single awful voice telling of a chaotic void before the universe had formed. They spoke of the first pain, but then a hand touched my shoulder. I thank God for that stranger's touch. It broke the voice's hold on me. My mind snapped back and the world became normal again. I was shocked to find myself standing in the bus aisle, hand reaching for the rearview mirror, pulled by some force. In the mirror, I saw a man asking if I was okay, but I couldn't speak. But my reflection wouldn't let me. My eyes widened, but my face grinned, predatory against my will. Okay, this was LSD, and it caused him to get schizophrenia. That's what it is. That's what it is. He's got schizophrenia that induced from LSD. Luck was with me when the bus stopped, the jolt knocking me down, breaking the spell. I scrambled off into the cool fall night. It had started raining, and something dripped down my neck. Thinking it was rain, I wiped it, but my hand was red. My ear was bleeding, and suddenly, nausea hit. I vomited on the sidewalk. I cleaned up and barely walked the remaining blocks to Clarice's apartment. Clarice's apartment. Sounds were muffled. I couldn't hear right. The world was a blur, but I knew I had to reach her. I stumbled to her door, knocked weakly, and saw her appear, worried, mouthing, Peyton, as I collapsed into unconsciousness at her feet. Okay, is this a guy or a girl? Because Peyton is a very... It could be a guy name, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of the female spelling with an E, because that's spelled like an A. I don't know. Normally, when one collapses, at least in my experience, it's a dreamless sleep, leaving you unrested. This time, only the latter was true, as my unconscious sleep was filled with terrible visions of that alien landscape. Again, I floated toward the ever-shifting landscapes, almost metaphysical, as if shaped by an ever-changing mind. Drifting through the vast, formless world, I gained enough control over my astral form to look toward what I thought was the sky. But it wasn't. It was as if I were floating over semi-solid land in an airless nebula. There was no sign of an atmosphere, no stars or sun, yet the nebula glowed with countless colors in all directions. I could only wonder what sustained this place I hovered over. High-pitched echoes like voices. They all washed over me at once. I felt them for that was how I understood their words. Jesus Christ, dude, with this. How are you speaking? Revealing terrible things. They spoke of their desire to reduce matter to a simpler state, like the ever-changing landscape around me. They spoke of worshipping the first, a formless and all-present being. In their horrible, inhuman language, they told of terrible truth. Oh my God! Terrible truth in human disciples. I think it's just this story. The story is boring the shit out of me. I mean, it's a very cool premise, but it's very existential. And I don't know, it's throwing me out of it, I guess. But I'm gonna try to stay grounded. I couldn't believe there were worshippers of these creatures and refused to accept it. Are you an idiot? If these foul voices belonged to the same horror I saw in that mirror, these creatures were nightmares made real. Only the most depraved human could conceive. Oh my God. Of worshipping such horrors. I wished their words had stopped, for their truly horrific plans for the world were still to come. These deranged humans, only the maddest would worship such a terrible existence. Worshipped the first, whose chants were not mere empty words, but served a terrible purpose. Their words conjured images of lines that ran across the earth, which I recognize as the much theorized ley lines, created by the first human worshippers. I heard them singing praises to the first, His voice was now silent among the unseen throng. What the fuck is it? Hold up. A large, densely. Okay. Didn't say a large group of people. What? No one knows what throng. I mean, Google knows what throng is, but holy fuck. This guy has a thesaurus somewhere. That's all I'm saying. They sang of his vengeance on the universe, of the first all-encompassing form devouring the material plane, leaving only those who truly loved his formless beauty. The terrible song sang of how those who truly loved him would dedicate themselves to his purpose, creating a more perfect universe in his design, according to his will. The voices rose in pitch, repeating their words at an ever fast rate, till finally reaching a cacophonous crescendo, followed by silence. Then his voice rang out, saying, "Oh, hold up. Let it be! I now understand the truth of the plane I was inside, for this was the incorporeal form of the terrible being they called the First. All I saw in this place was him." The voices cried out again, "Let us, the Second, create all things in the First's image. Let all things be him." I felt myself drawn by the charisma and the strength of the words. Like a whirlpool, I was sucked into their beliefs. I understood then how, over eons, so many had been swayed to worship the terror of the First. I fought with my consciousness as best as I could, but their pull was stronger than my will. If there is a holy deity or deities in the universe, it was only by their will that Clarice woke me just as I was about to give in to their call. Her gentle jostling of my body was enough to snap me out of my trance-like nightmare. Yeah, gentle jostling wakes you from godlike paralysis. There we go. I have a stutter. Leave me alone. I could tell by the light in the room that it was morning. Another trick of time stolen from me by these strange events. I knew even then that this wouldn't be the last such experience. "Hey, Peyton, you really need to wake up. You're severely dehydrated." Her face showed mercy. I didn't like seeing that expression marring her beautiful face from her rich Jamaican heritage. Whoa, 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 what? Clarice is a black chick. All right. Check you, Peyton. I see you. He's down with the swirl. I got you. Get you some, Peyton. I know. I am black too. If that, you know, it's not obvious, but you know, I sound white. It's crazy. Anyway, let's get back to this. I did as she asked, and I got up. I was weak. Clarice. Oh, it's Clarice. Now that I know she's Jamaican, it's Clarice. Was right as always. I couldn't recall when I drank anything. Oh, I am Jamaican, so I know that that's pronounced Clarice. Because that's like a common name for Jamaicans. I need your help. I told her. Sorry, that's not what Peyton sounds like. "I need your help," I told her bluntly after guzzling my third glass of water. I'm not going to do an accent. "I can tell, especially after you're collapsing in my doorway," she said, arms crossed, sitting across from me on her sofa. Her apartment was far better than the eyesore that was my home. "You scared me half to death. Looking so pale and feeling so cold." Hey, I need you to explain this. Clarice showed me a picture on her phone. It was I lying on the bed, but on the sheet beside me was a hieroglyph, complex, swirling, and symmetrical. It began at 4 points, forming various angles, ultimately resembling a horrible-looking eye. Just seeing it filled me with unease. I looked at my hand, and sure enough, my right index finger was freshly bandaged. How do you know this hieroglyph?" she asked, glaring, all worry gone from her eyes. I don't know. I've never seen it before. I hope she'd believe me, as I had no idea. This worried me deeply, as I'd never sleepwalked or done anything similar. That I'd start sleepwalking must be related to everything happening, recalling my trance like bus experience. I hurried to the spare bedroom where she had carried me. There it was on the wall before the bed, the only connection. A large mirror that provided a full view of anyone sleeping there. I yanked off my shoe, preparing to throw it at the mirror, when Clarice grabbed my arm. I, that is fucking hilarious. Like, no, fuck a mirror! Throw my shoe at it. He's got PTSD from his own mirror acting up. Jesus Christ. You don't understand. That mirror is the cause of all this. It's how everything Oh, wait. You don't understand. The mirror is the cause of all this. It's how everything keeps happening. I yelled, my voice turning manic. Peyton, calm down. Just tell me what's happening. She said soothingly. Come back to the living room. You can explain there. I followed her back. I need you to know one thing before I start. Everything I'm telling you is real, no matter how crazy it sounds. It's completely true. I told her about the night at the club and waking the next day. I described horrifying mirror experience, then I recounted my trip here. Stressing the bus's mirror, I omitted the visions, fearing even her open mind, an increasingly rare thing in anthropology, would doubt my sanity with tales of an alternate plane. After I finished, a long silence followed. Finally, Clarice stood, grabbed a bottle of whiskey from the cabinet, and poured a glass. I'm struggling to believe you. Normally, I'd say you had spectrophobia or schizophrenia. That's what I said. But you've never shown those signs. You're so scientific, which is odd for any art major, by the way. You're even an atheist. She took a swig of whiskey. I'm sorry. She drinks whiskey? Yo, wife this woman, Peyton! Jesus! Um, that doesn't mean I believe. That doesn't mean I believe you. But there's something I can't explain, though. That hieroglyph. How does that prove my sanity? I think it would be the opposite. Because the public hasn't seen this symbol. It's a high level academic secret. I don't understand. Why is it a secret? What does it mean? I asked with a confused expression. I hadn't expected this. All I sought was her comfort. Actual answers? That hadn't crossed my mind. Clarice poured another glass of whiskey, less concerned with portion size. That's just it. We haven't a clue what it means. She took a swig. You know, my specialty is linguistic anthropology, focusing on Native American languages. I nodded. Well, recently there's been excavation of ancient Native American mounds. A month ago, Dr. Thomas, the lead archaeologist, called me. Though I'm still a doctoral student, I'm known for a paper proposing a possible connection between ancient Native American and Mesopotamian languages. He knew my thesis he knew my thesis focused on language and culture of the mound builders. He said they found a hieroglyph unlike any other at the site. Then showed me the symbol we've taken to calling the evil eye. I'm really gonna take a nap after this. The symbol was so curious and so obviously not belonging to the civilization that I suspected Dr. Thomas was a victim of academic fraud. I showed it to my professor, hoping she could guide me. Dr. Shelley Hines, my professor, specializes in linguistic anthropology. Must have been the wind. Oh my god. Focusing on Egyptian linguistic. The moment I showed it to her, I knew something was wrong. She cursed under her breath, something I never heard her do, and asked where I got it. I explained everything, and when I mentioned its source, she unleashed a string of curses. I didn't know she could even think, let alone say out loud. Dr. Hines said, "This symbol is the greatest, best kept secret in the academic world." She reached into her desk and pulled out a thick folder of hundreds of pages of pictures and documents. I began reviewing them, finding the same symbol in China, Egypt, South America, India, England, Norway, and beyond. We found the symbol worldwide. It's so distinct from any known language that it's not part of any alphabet, but has a unique unknown meaning. So you're saying this symbol I drew in my sleep and in my blood isn't just some crazy thing? Nervously I asked. Exactly. She was silent for a moment and then said, "There's something else odd about it. It doesn't vary from place to place." "I don't understand," I replied sheepishly. "In language, we can trace a symbol's roots. For example, we can trace our alphabet by following each symbol's cultural value evolution from a starting point. This symbol, it breaks that rule. It's identical every time we see it. Even yours is exactly the same." I couldn't respond. Clarice was visibly shaken by this destruction of her faith in scientific logic. My eyes drifted toward the evil eye, as Clarice called it. As she spoke, my eyes slowly glued to the image, seeing nothing else. Clarice shook my shoulder violently, but my gaze remained fixed. Then a mental snap hit my brain, and I was no longer in my body. I was traveling the labyrinthian streets of Old Arkham until I reached my destination. I stood before a walled off courtyard surrounding an old Victorian style church. It was covered in dead vines, its once red brick wall crumbling with age. The wrought iron gate had fallen aside, and I stepped through to a courtyard choked with dead grass and weeds. My eyes drifted to the church, painted black long ago and abandoned. Its windows, coated in layers of black, seemed to block all light. Driven by curiosity, I walked toward the front steps, toward the open black maw of the entryway. Glancing to my left, I saw on the ground a barely illegible sign reading, "First Methodist Church of Arkham." I returned to my body, feeling a pull like a magnet toward what I assumed was the old church on the hill. I knew I couldn't resist long. "This is gonna sound crazy, but I know where I have to go. I understand if you don't want to." She looked at me, stared at me is probably more accurate. Something about my facial expression or posture must have told her that I had experienced a waking vision. There was a sigh, and then Clarice said, "Shut up, Peyton. Let's go." We drove to Old Arkham, a relic surrounded by the modern city's gleaming skyscrapers and bustling commerce. Over the years, residents had abandoned the old town's charm for modern conveniences, leaving behind only a few trust fund couples seeking to renovate the historic homes. Weary wanderers hiding from the world and stubborn families unwilling to adapt. Even Miskatonic University, my alma mater, had relocated to the new city, leaving Old Arkham a shadow of its former self. The cars I like the idea of this fucking abandoned church in the forest in the center of a fucking city. Like there's this cursed place in the center of the city and everyone's just going around like la 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 regular day. Oh, there's a day drug agency in that church in the middle of town. Did you hear about that? Did you hear about that, Leslie? We can't go to church. The car's confined space overwhelmed my mirror induced paranoia. After reaching a point I deemed close enough to walk, I insisted we park. Clarice resisted at first, but relented when she spotted a nearby restaurant. We parked and entered Abdul's Diner by mid-afternoon. Okay, this takes place somewhere that's not America. I don't think so. I'm gonna have to do research on it, but I don't think this takes place in America. Hold up, let's see. What was the name of that? Cool, Miss Catan. I don't know why this didn't fucking hit me from the jump, but Yeah, this is why I like this story so much. Because it's H.P. Lovecraft inspired. Okay, yep, I get it. I get it. I know I said it's like it's drawing me out, but like it is. I'm still reading it. I'm still reading it, and it is the first. It is the first. It is my first video I'm doing on this channel. But yeah, yep. Look at that. That's great. I love it. I might do an H.P. Lovecraft story on the channel once. Maybe. I don't know. I we'll have to see. Uh, the cars can. Yeah, you heard that. Clarice resisted at first, but relented. A heavy, rainless sky loomed overhead, casting a foreboding pallor over the town. The diner, likely opened in the 1950s, showed signs of neglect, its faded decor mirroring the weary patrons within. The customers sat in eerie silence, their shoulders slumped, eyes vacant, as if entranced. A soulless place if I ever saw one. We settled at a table, enveloped by an awkward silence, unbroken by music or conversation. When the waiter approached, his forced smile seemed robotic, almost sinister, as if his face were a mask concealing something darker. We ordered in hushed whispers and endured the patron's stares until our food had arrived. The meal was as bland as the atmosphere, goddamn, and we ate quickly, paid, and left. Walking toward the church on the hill felt easier with each step, as if the compulsion guiding me strengthened in that direction. Or maybe you finally fucking ate something. How long has it been? Like 2 days now since the club. It has to have been more than 2 days because you've blacked out several times. Every move away from it was a struggle. As we walked, the sky darkened, and the old buildings seemed to loom, threatening to collapse and bury us in the ruins. The sparse population dwindled further the closer we got to our destination. Eventually, we encountered an elderly man whose line face still held a spark of life, unlike the town's oppressive gloom. Clarice, ever the curious scientist, struck up a conversation. He was eager to talk until we mentioned the church on the hill. His eyes widened and his feet twitched as if to flee, but something made him stay. With trembling hands, he offered to share what he knew if we gave him money for a decent drink. We handed him some cash, which he pocketed slowly. "Not here," he whispered. "Too many of them lurking. Listen, follow me." The magnetic pull toward the church made following him difficult, but I managed to trail him to a dilapidated apartment building a block away. A crude cross-like symbol was carved into the door. "They don't like these symbols. Keeps their eyes and ears out of my life." Inside, every wooden wall bore carved holy symbols: the Star of David, an Ankh, a Wiccan sun and pentagram, and others so ancient their meanings were lost to time. The sheer madness of this place felt wrong, as if it repelled my very presence. "I recognize some of these," Clarice said. "Oh, sorry. I recognize some of these." Fuck, I dropped my device. "I recognize some of these. Inca symbols, Paleo Indian ones. But why would they fear these, and who are they?" "Name's Hub. Not that you asked." "At least it was before they got nearly everyone here." Seeing our looks of confusion, he continued, "I ain't just some loony, believe me or not. I lived here my whole life, and I'm not making this up." You have our attention," I said, sitting on a dusty couch and gesturing to for Clarice to join me. "It started before I was born. My father said those living near the Methodist church on Hangman's Hill were cursed. Called themselves disciples. As a kid, I thought they were just odd. Plenty of folks around here where something about them was wrong. Their eyes looked dead and their movements unnatural, like their bodies didn't fit in them right. They didn't worship like us, gathering on pagan days, chanting in some unearthly tongue, so loud it kept us all awake. As I got older, people started disappearing. 1 or 2 a year at first. Easy to explain away, but soon there were as many missing posters as there were folks left in Old Arkham. That's when things got bad. Hob grabbed a half-empty whiskey bottle with a shaking hand and took a long swig. The few of us left started acting strange. Not themselves. More joined the disciples. One Samhain, I followed him. Wish to the heavens I hadn't. They marched by torchlight, all lights in town shut off, supposedly for some kind of maintenance that happened every time they marched. Hooded, they chanted in that wrong language, moving toward the Hangman's Hill. What up, sec? I have to stop for a second. By midnight, they reached the Methodist church, whose walls were painted black as coal, windows sealed with layers of black paint. They filed in, bowling at the entrance. Hob let the empty bottle fall and shatter on the floor. I crept to the open door. Inside, they packed the mirrored room tight, torches on the walls. They stood around a stone altar in the center. They laid my friend Missy Peterson on it. Their chanting grew louder, faster, and that symbol, the evil eye, glowed. The words blurred into a buzz, and a tendril thick as a man's arm burst from the altar. His voice cracked and he buried his face in his hands. It wasn't real. Like glass, but it moved. It pierced her chest. She screamed. For fuck's sake. She screamed as it lifted her, then dragged her into the altar. Something blurred out and 4 people kneeling nearby shook violently. A voice deep as the sea roared in my head. Embrace the second! I shall come! All shall be the first! Wait! How do you know about that symbol? How do you know about that symbol? How do you know it's called that? Hob took a second, going from angry at being interrupted to looking quizzical. You know, miss, I don't really know. I don't think I ever heard any else call it anything else. Name just seemed to fit it. Like the evil eye called itself that. Now stop interrupting me. I'm almost done. I can get the hell out. After seeing a dear friend of mine die, I ran faster than ever, never looking back like a damn coward. I got home. I carved that cross on my door with the knife in my pocket, begging on God to protect me. They came that night. They stood screeching at the symbol on my door like animals fighting for territory. But by sunrise, they were gone. They've watched me every night. They've watched me ever since, waiting for me to slip up. Never saw Missy again. Now I hide, drink, and survive till they win. Summoning my courage, I asked the question I dreaded most. What was the name of the old Methodist church? Deep down, I already knew the answer. Perhaps it was my growing dread or something more sinister, but when Hob, his voice steady despite the whiskey, confirmed it was the First Methodist Church, I felt no surprise. I pulled toward the church intensified. The pull toward the church intensified, like a child struggling insistently at my sleeve. Resignation settled over me, and Clarice's expression mirrored my own. We knew our only choice was to go to the one place we knew we couldn't. I mean, why though? Couldn't you? I mean, you know where it's gonna happen. You could just not go there. Get away from it. I mean, that would be my idea. Or take an RPG and just blow that shit up. I don't know. I don't know if you can get RPGs. Do RPGs exist? I'm not quite sure. No, yes. No, he said he has a phone. So yes, he can go get an RPG because RPGs exist. Go Go blow that fucking church up or take a Molotov cocktail at it. We knew. We rose to leave in grim silence. Hob, half dazed by alcohol, passed a rosary into my hand with a slurred warning. They don't know which gods are real or fake. Don't take this off. Ever. I clasped the rosary, patted his shoulder, and left him to his drunken sorrow. We stepped onto old Arkham's cracked sidewalks. The tall, narrow buildings looming oppressively overhead. The lights were out. The stars and moon provided enough light for us to walk. My compulsion guided us through twisting alleys with ease, the ground rising beneath our feet as we neared the church. Our silence was not awkward but resolute, each step driven by a shared determination to end this nightmare. I could have only guessed Clarice's thoughts. Perhaps she envisions uncovering the secret of the evil eye, the greatest archaeological discovery of our time. But these are reflections born of hindsight, not certainty. Maybe it was even more personal than that. Maybe she was doing this in hope of saving me somehow. I wish I knew. We reached the brick wall encircling the First Methodist Church courtyard and graveyard. Gripping Clarice's hand tightly, I clutched the rosary until it bit into my skin. We paused at the collapsed wrought iron gate, steeling ourselves. The church's open door revealed flickering torchlight within, along with something else. The pull, now irresistible, drew my feet forward. A sense of foreboding deepened as we approached. I glimpsed a weed choke sign, likely the same one from my vision, now undeniable as more than a mere dream. From within came a low, reverent murmur, not whispered but steeped in awe. Clarice and I climbed the 5 steps cautiously and entered through the double doors, where we had obviously been expected by the loyal congregation. The old pews were gone, leaving the wooden floor bare. In the center, painted in deep red, sprawled the intricate evil eye symbol. Floor-to-ceiling mirrors lined the walls, interrupted only by sconces holding torches that cast a bright, eerie glow, and another pulsing light that seemed to emanate from nothing but everywhere. I avoided looking at the mirrors, fearing the loss of control again, and focused on a massive stone altar. 7 feet long, 3 feet wide, and 3 feet tall. Its rounded corners worn by age. It rested on a stone slab, extending 2 feet beyond its end and a foot on each side, etched with bas reliefs of the evil eye in the same blood-red hue. Hooded figures stood shoulder to shoulder along the mirrored walls, their murmurs ceasing as we entered. They stood in silence, arms crossed, heads bowed. From their ranks stepped a figure distinct from the rest, clad in heavy robes with a silver chain bearing a large evil eye pendant. A stone crown, unlike any I'd seen, adorned his hood, centered with another evil eye. His movements were jerky, like a puppet pulled by unseen strings. He bowed his head and gestured toward the altar. Sweat beaded on my face as the compulsion to obey surged, stronger than ever. Yet in my terror, I found the will to resist. Our eyes locked, or rather, I stared into the shadowy void where his face should have been, unconvinced it was human. He gestured again, his motions erratic, and the hooded figures resumed their chant in guttural, otherworldly tongue filled with harsh consonants and rare vowels. The language of the second from my vision. Their words transported me back to that flowing alien landscape, its eternal hymns to the first. My lips moved, mouthing their chant, praising the first. My feet shuffled toward the altar, ready to embrace my fate. And Clarice's hand yanked me back. "Snap out of it, Peyton! We need to get out!" She shouted over the rising cacophony. In her left hand, a snub-nosed revolver aimed at the crowned figure. "Let's go now!" Yo, Clarice came to fucking... She didn't come around to fuck around. Where did she get a gun? I wondered to myself. Was this her plan all along? I never even knew she owned a firearm, but I was determined. Yo, you need a wife. Why is this bitch just a friend? I know y'all were together, but holy fuck. We haven't learned anything. My voice was not entirely my own. "We came for answers. We need to know about the slick slumps." What the fuck? The sixum, the extra dead, and the extra know these things. They'll usher in a new beginning, eternal peace under the first. The words poured from me as if another controlled my body. A stranger within me defying Clarice. Her strength shattered. The strongest woman I knew unraveled, waving the gun wildly between the hooded leader and me, her eyes manic. "They're controlling you! You're becoming one of them! We have to leave, Peyton, now!" My gaze drifted to the mirrors, revealing a nightmare. Instead of the hooded disciples, I saw countless reflections of the monstrous creature from my first vision. Not one human reflection remained, except that of Clarice's. Her eyes, fixed on the mirrors, saw the same horrors as I did. Then slowly, she turned to me, her voice breaking. "Peyton, why can't I see you in the mirrors?" The world trembled beneath me. I sank to my knees, glancing at the mirror to confirm the truth. I, too, was among the monstrous throng. Oh, fuck off with that word. Silently, I pleaded with Clarice, hoping she could save me. Her revolver leveled at my chest. I braced for the shot, closing my eyes, but the deafening blast spared me. The high priest had seized her wrist, twisting it until it snapped. Clarice screamed. She started to collapse, but he held her broken wrist, dragging her toward the altar. She clawed at the floor, her fingernails tearing as, "No, don't kill the baddie! No! No!" As the priest struck her throat, silencing her. The disciples chanted, "She missing me," as he stripped her and laid her choking body on the altar. Raising his arms, he silenced the chant and bellowed, "T-Rex, Teeks! He will awaken!" The words echoed. Oh, sorry. He will awaken. The words echoed fanatically. Then, "Orgalex Timzan Atso!" Taste our sacrifice, my body, no longer weeping, shouted with them. As the altar symbols glowed with sickly colors, the priest roared, "Amoni Samir, let all be him." I stood, my tears dried and echoed the cry. I stood, my tears dried and echoed the cry. My gaze steady on the altar. A tendril that seemed to be equal parts ethereal and material erupted from the ancient stone slab, lifting Clarice's struggling body. "No! No!" Then more and more of them appeared. She reached for me, helpless as one final tendril pierced her chest with a visceral sound. "No, Clarice! Clarice, no!" Fuck, I lost track of... yeah, like that of an overripe fruit being crushed underneath, and the snapping of thick bones. The tendrils collapsed inwards over her now lifeless, scarred yet judging eyes, and pulled her down into oblivion to be with the first. Something snapped inside of me. I regained. Yeah, I wonder why. Your best friend just got fucking murdered. I regained control of my body form, and my possessor and I collapsed stunned. One by one, the disciples removed their torches and filed out, leaving the altars fading below as my only light. In darkness, I waited until dawn's first rays touched my back. The mirrors still surround me. In the surge of rays, I seized the old sign outside and shattered the mirrors into countless fragments. Unlike Hob, I didn't run. I wandered from that place broken, my soul lost alongside the truest love I'd ever known. I found myself at a police station, bloodied and battered. I tried to explain Clarice's fate, but no one believed a junkie's story. They found no evidence at the First Methodist Church, only my rosary that I had dropped in the madness. They said the church had been abandoned for years. Suspected briefly of my love's disappearance, I was released due to a lack of evidence, thanks to a court-appointed lawyer. The doctors tell me that I suffered sort of a mental breakdown, unable to cope with reality or drug-induced psychosis. They don't understand that what I saw was real, and it left me shattered like the mirrors of the old church. See, how does that make sense? What do you mean drug-induced psychosis? Clarice is still missing. But okay. I checked myself into a hospital, hoping to escape those visions. But the seconds still find me. They find me in every reflection. Try to take control of me once again. Taking control of me from beyond our reality. I clutched the rosary given to me by Hob. But I think they're learning that my God isn't real. Unlike theirs, they tried to draw me to that formless, beautiful word, singing out the first chaotic glory. They pulled to return to that black birch what? The black church. The pull to return to that black church courses through my veins with every heartbeat. Their cacophonous hymns echo in my mind in a never-ending loop. I can see it from my God, I can see it from my window still. The black church. Some nights I see the glow of torches both coming and going. It calls to me. The thing inside me wants to join them, but I have to resist for her sake. See, that's what I was fucking saying. I think you should get away from that place. Like you got Clarice killed. Oh my God. You got the man who killed you, bastard. As long as I resist, and that means there is hope. And that is all I have left for me. As I'm writing this, the second inside my body has started singing. I know that sings with the church. I know that sings with the others in the church. I'm tired. So tired. One day I'll lose this fight and join the ever-growing congregation. I will be with my God. I will be with the first. For now, I play the role of Sisyphus and push my boulder out of spite. If you find this story and I am gone, you know where to find me. I'll be there with the crowd. Please, please kill me. Burn that place to the ground. Destroy the altar. It's my only hope now. You are my only hope for release. Have you ever seen yourself die? For all of our sake, I hope not. All right, okay, so I I really like that story. That's the end of the story. I have to say I wasn't expecting the direction it was going. I was thinking it was more like it was gonna be like an earthly cult, but no, they're like this otherworldly cult. On they are on the supernatural realm. But yeah, that was a good read. I enjoyed that, and yeah, I think I'm gonna read something else. Actually, I had something saved on Reddit. Hopefully, it's not been taken down. But I'm gonna see if I can read that next. Let me get back to you. Okay, nope, that is the end of that is the end of this video. But yeah, this we do like I said, we do have a subreddit here. It's for the gay horror writers. I'm not. This isn't an exclusive thing. Anyone can join. Gay, straight, trans, black, white, yellow, orange, potato, tomato. If you're an elf, whatever. As long as you love the spooky stuff, and if you want to continue to hear me read spooky stuff, I know I'm not the best at it, but I'd like to get my hat in the ring. I know there's places out there like Creepcast who definitely are better than me. I'm not quite sure I'm too good. But yeah, if you like this kind of content, let me know, and yeah, I will definitely see about releasing more. But yeah, that for now, that is the end of my video. I would also like to do a shout out to the writer of that story. His name was Jeremy Ikvad. Yes. That's very hard to pronounce. But yeah, your story was really great, and I hope you allow me to. I hope it's okay that I read your story. I really um, I really like the story. It's really great. It's very, it's Lovecraftian. I'll say that. Yeah, I can see the inspiration drawn very well from it. But yeah, other than that, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a good night. It's 9 o'clock here. It's quite late, but yeah, depending on this video, it might be morning or something. I don't know. I have to set up the YouTube page. It's a long thing, but yeah, I will. Everyone, if you like this video, just let me know. Anyway, stay safe out there.